places tell me my dad listens to this. I'm Juliet the daughter.
And I'm Kevin the dad. And Jules, what did you pick for us this time?
So this time, I picked Nirvana. That's literally the name of the album. Basically, this is a collection of Nirvana's greatest hits, correct?
Correct.
I figured, why not? It's time. And as you know, I'm not a fan of 90s rock.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised you picked this one because this is the band responsible for your least favorite music genre ever.
So what do I think of them? Well, we're going to find out. But first, Dad, what do we need to know?
Okay, the band members of Nirvana were Kurt Cobain, born February 20th, 1967, guitar and lead vocals. Chris Novoselic, born May 16th, 1965, bass. And after going through 6 other drummers, Dave Grohl, born January 14th, 1969, obviously drums. And also backing vocals. Now, if you would like to learn more about Kurt's life before Nirvana, check out Heavier Than Heaven by Charles Cross. I read it years ago, and I thought it was a pretty good book. It does have its detractors, though. You check out the 1-star Amazon reviews. Haters peg it as the Courtney Love-approved version of Cobain's life, which I was not even aware of until I started prepping for this podcast. But like I said, I liked the book. It was informative. So now we're just going to go into the Cliff Notes version.
Okay.
Kurt was born in Aberdeen, Washington. Childhood was okay until he was 9 when his parents got divorced. Kurt wound up staying at homes of various relatives. Along the way, he discovered the Beatles and heavy metal, and courtesy of local band The Melvins, hardcore and punk. In 1985, Kurt and Melvin Dale Crover formed a joke band, Fecal Matter. While hanging out at the Melvins' practice space, Kurt met Chris Novoselic. They formed a duo, the Stiff Woodies, with Kurt on drums and Chris on bass, and they had a rotating bunch of guitarists and vocalists. Eventually, Kurt would play guitar and sing. Then it was rotating drummers until Chad Channing. They called themselves Nirvana because Kurt wanted the name that was beautiful or nice. They started recording demos in 1988, and by November, they had put out a single on Seattle indie label Sub Pop. It was a cover of Shocking Blue's Love Buzz, which you can find both the original version and Nirvana's on YouTube. A month later, they recorded their debut album, Bleach, at a little over $600 to make. It initially sold 40,000 copies. They recorded an EP, Blue, B-L-E-W, not B-L-U-E. And in April 1990, started working with producer Butch Vig in Madison, Wisconsin. Kurt and Chris weren't happy with Chad Channing's drumming. Chad wasn't happy about not being involved with the songwriting. He left the band. They had some more drum fill-ins. Eventually, leaked bootlegs of the band's demos garnered major label attention. In September of 1990, Melvin Buzz Osborne introduced Kurt and Chris to drummer Dave Grohl, whose Washington, D.C. band Scream had just broken up. Within 2 minutes of the audition, they knew they had found their drummer. Also in 1990, on the advice of Sonic Youth's Kim Gordon, the band signed with David Geffen Company, or DGC Records. Butch Vig ended up producing their major label debut. They were going to mix the album, but fell behind schedule. Andy Wallace was brought in to do the final mix, which, after the album was released, the band thought was a little too polished. The first single, Smells Like Teen Spirit, was released September 10th, 1991. The album, Nevermind, came out 2 weeks later. DGC was hoping it would sell 250,000 copies. By the beginning of January 1992, it was selling 300,000 copies a week.
Holy shit.
And it hit number 1, knocking off Michael Jackson's Dangerous album. And it also put an end to hair metal. Spandex and cocaine were out. Flannel and heroin were in. Which makes sense given that Seattle's best known landmark is the Space Needle.
Oh, man.
That was just too good to resist. Everyone was taken by surprise, especially the band. And then, of course, every major label was after any alt-rock or grunge band they could get their hands on.
For better or for worse.
Oh, yeah. The good, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains. The bad, Live, and Bush. God-awful Bush. And the ugly, Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins. Okay, I was trying to go for the Clint Eastwood trifecta because of the movie. Just humor me. Anyway, as for fame, they got big fast. They said they knew they made it when Weird Al came a-calling about doing a parody of Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's not about food, is it? Kurt asked. No, it's about how nobody can understand your lyrics. Kurt thought that was hilarious.
And also, fun fact, when Al recorded that, people said that was kind of like his comeback, because before that had been UHF, which was a total flop. And after that, people were kind of looking at Al as a relic of the 80s, and he was in a bit of a creative slump. And then when he did that, boom, he was back.
UHF is dumb fun. I know you only lasted, not even 20 minutes?
No, I couldn't do it. You and Jackie can enjoy that movie together. I'll go do something else.
Oh, we will. Anyway, Kurt used his fame to promote bands he loved, telling people that they needed to listen to the Wipers, the Vaselines, Meat Puppets, and Shonen Knife, among others. In the case of Shonen Knife, Kurt brought them on tour with the band. And then, Courtney Love.
Uh-oh.
Now, there are conflicting stories about how they met. Check out Courtney's Wikipedia page and just pick the one that you like best. They got married on Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, Hawaii on February 24th, 1992. Their only child, Frances Bean Cobain, was born August 18th, 1992. Meanwhile, DGC was hoping for a new album for the holidays. Already, just like that.
Wait,
Just keep cranking them out, guys.
tell me they weren't thinking of like a Nirvana Christmas album. They just wanted a
No,
new
they
album.
just wanted something.
Okay, because you said that and I was like, that would not have worked in a million
No,
years.
it's like, okay, we're on the treadmill, guys. Let's crank out an album a year.
Okay.
Anyway, they released a compilation album along with Sub Pop called Incesticide. DGC didn't promote it too much as Nevermind was still going strong, and the fourth single from that album, In Bloom, was released. Oh, and the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards. Backstage before the show, Axl Rose challenged Kurt to a fight. Nothing came of that, though Kurt did spit on the piano he thought Axl was going to use when Guns N' Roses performed November Rain. But Elton John played that piano, and
no!
Kurt was kind of mortified about that.
Did Elton ever find out?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, man. Someone tell us in the comments.
When Nirvana performed Lithium, Chris' amplifier stopped working. He threw his bass in the air, misjudged landing, and yep, bass, meet forehead.
Ow.
And allegedly, Brian May was one of the first people to rush up on stage and render some sort of assistance.
Oh, wow.
He is a doctor, but not a medical doctor.
No.
No. In February of 1993, the band, along with Don't Call Me a Producer Steve Albini, recorded their next album in 2 weeks in Minnesota. Cost $25,000.
Wow.
There were rumors the album was unreleasable, but it came down to the band not being happy with some of Albini's mixes. REM producer Scott Litt was brought in to mix Heart-Shaped Box, Penny Royalty, and All Apologies. And son of a gun, all three of those songs were released as singles. In Utero came out September 21st, 1993, and hit #1 on the US and UK album charts. And just a quick aside, to learn more about Steve Albini, pick up the Rock Snobs Dictionary by David Camp and Steve Daly. It's absolutely dead on target and laugh out loud funny. In October, they started touring, and in November, they played on MTV Unplugged. They didn't play their best-known songs, though. They did covers and had Chris and Kurt Kirkwood of the Meat Puppets join on 3 Meat Puppet songs. The band did the entire performance in one take.
Wow.
It was released November 1994, and it debuted #1 on the album chart. It also won Best Alternative Music Performance at the 1996 Grammys, Nirvana's only Grammy win. Whilst touring in Europe in March '94, Courtney found Kurt unconscious from a combination of prescribed roiphenol, which is used to treat severe insomnia and alcohol. It's also known as roofies. Yes. The rest of the tour was canceled. Kurt's heroin addiction resurfaced. Then there was an intervention, then rehab. Kurt left less than a week. On April 8th, his body was discovered in the greenhouse above the garage in his home in Seattle. There was a suicide note and a 20-gauge shotgun on Kurt's chest. His death was ruled a suicide, but there are conspiracy theories out there that it wasn't.
Really?
There are. Yep.
Wow. I haven't heard about those.
You can check them out on Wikipedia. There's a bunch.
What'd the note say?
I can't remember. It was a little long.
Okay.
I remember when WBRU announced his death. I was on the bus coming home from work, which was Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island at the time. And I was listening to my Walkman because it was the 90s. And when they said it, I said, "Oh shit," out loud. And people turned and looked at me and I said, "Kurt Cobain's dead." Blank stares.
Nothing? Nobody on the bus?
No.
Wow, that's kind of sad.
In 1996, a live album from the Banks of the Muddy Wishkah debuted at #1 on the Billboard album chart. The best of we're gonna review came out in October of 2002, a box set in 2004, and the best of that box set in 2005. And there's been a few more live albums as well. And the band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014, their first ballot. No surprise there. As for Chris Novoselic, he bounced in and out of more than a few bands, became a political activist, and got a BS in social sciences from Washington State University. He's currently working on a Master's of Studies in Law for Environmental Justice.
Cool.
Dave Grohl founded the Foo Fighters in 1994 and went on to become one of the nicest guys in rock and roll.
Yes.
He came out with his autobiography, The Storyteller, Tales of Life and Music, in October 2021. As for Nirvana, the album, it was released following the settlement of a long-standing dispute between Courtney and Dave and Chris. It was over the song You Know You're Right. Dave and Chris wanted it on the box set. Courtney blocked the song's release. She thought it would be wasted on the box set because it would just be buried on there, and wanted it on a single disc compilation similar to the Beatles' #1 compilation, because she thought the song had potential, it could be a big hit. Anyway, the suit was settled in September 2002. You Know You're Right came out as a single in October, and Nirvana came out in November. Critical reception was mixed. Could have been more songs because it only clocks in about 50 minutes. Real fans already have this stuff, and it's all a tuneful songs and so on. And I bought it because, hey, I like tuneful songs. I can't help it. That's just me. Well, because the thing was, like, I did have Nevermind and I did have In Utero, but I realized I really wasn't listening to either one, or when I would just skip over certain songs and they were just gathering dust on the shelf. And this best of had everything I wanted. So there.
So,
Yep. I love the stock cover. It's all black with the Nirvana logo in slightly raised silver letters. That's class.
kind of reminds me of AC/DC's Back in Black.
And now, yeah, kind of. And now let's do one of Kurt's least favorite things. Extract meaning from his lyrics.
Sorry, Kurt.
Which it drove him nuts when fans and rock journalists attempted this. And I gotta say, it's been that way since Bob Dylan. What's it all mean? What's he saying? You can either thank or blame Bob.
Before we attempt to find out, when did you first hear Nirvana? You do your As For Me, I first heard this band in da-da-da-da. Do you remember how?
Yeah. I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit when it came out. At the time, BRU was like the only station playing it.
Oh, wow.
And then when it got big, every station was playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, this is something else, which we'll get into when we dissect Smells Like Teen Spirit. And by the way, I think all rock journalists owe their career, and they need to worship and sacrifice at the altar of Bob Dylan.
Because without them, they wouldn't have a career.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so with apologies to Kurt, shall we do this?
Well, oh, yes, let's.
All right, first track, You Know You're Right. The faintness of those opening notes actually made me think my headphones were glitching again. Because I was like, I gotta turn up the volume. I went to Bluetooth settings and was like, are these connected? They were. The music has this warm quality to its sound that I can't really explain unless you were to listen to it on headphones. And it would be comforting if it weren't for the skeeviness of the character sung by Kurt Cobain. He knows how to sing like a creep. It makes me wonder why this song wasn't used in serial killer movies or stalker movies, because I could see the music playing along to something ungodly or unspeakable happening on screen. And here's what I want to know. Do people not hear the cry for help in this song? Because listening to Kurt and Chester Bennington of Linkin Park when he was singing I Give Up, I wonder if people shouldn't have been surprised by their deaths, because in the music I hear, this guy is not okay, he needs help. It's impossible to listen to Nirvana the same way knowing what was going to happen. So this song made me feel creeped out since it doesn't seem like this guy will leave the listener alone. But hey, at least we get Dave Grohl taking us out on drums and making us feel better.
So this was the unreleased song, and this was the reason people had to buy this CD back then. I'm sure now you can just find it on Spotify, no problem.
Oh yeah, easily.
This was recorded in January 1994, and it was the last thing Nirvana recorded. Post-suicide, that first verse is devastating. I will never bother you. I will never promise to. I will never follow you. I will never bother you. Never speak a word again. I will crawl away for good. I will move away from here. And was the cry for help? Was he trying to warn us? I gotta say, probably not, but still, you don't know.
Yeah.
Just a heavy rocking song, and it's in your face, and it's also catchy. And the thing is, usually on best ofs, you get one new band song that's kind of meh. It's like, oh yeah, we found it. We found this in the closet, and yeah, let's just throw this on. No one's heard it before, but not in this case. This is a great song, and it kind of makes me wonder what could have been.
Next track, About a Girl. I love the opening guitar intro here, and I really like this song a lot. Kurt wants to see this girl, even if she hangs him out to dry, and even if he has to get in line behind the other guys and take a number like he's at the deli. He's willing to do it. He just can't see her every night, which bums him out. But he feels free when he sees her, which makes me want to know, on a scale from the Buddy Holly story to all that jazz, how autobiographical is this song? And with the music, I noticed the Beatles' influence. I remember Kurt saying how much he loved their music in an interview, and the I do's sung in the background sound like Lennon and McCartney-esque. This song also definitely made me understand what Dad meant, or what somebody else meant, when they said grunge rock has a Seattle vibe. And again, that's not really a term I can explain, but this does sound like something you'd hear in a cafe on a rainy day with patrons dressed in black nodding along solemnly and or smoking. I really like this song a lot.
This is from Bleach, and Kurt wrote this after spending an afternoon listening to Meet the Beatles. He was apprehensive about putting the song on Bleach because it wasn't a grunge song. It was pop, and he worried about alienating the fan base. And he said he felt like he was back in high school where you had these cliques and you had to make people happy and
I
what
could
have
see
you.
that.
He was also worried about the band's then label Sub Pop not liking it. Guess what?
They did.
They really liked it.
Yeah.
And it is about a girl, Tracy Miranda, Kurt's then girlfriend. And the lyrics are simple, it's a catchy song, and it's under 3 minutes, and it's everything you'd want in a pop song.
Yeah, pretty perfect. Next track, Ben is Son. Where did the Bruce Springsteen impression come from? This is something I can relate to all too well. So, my pronouns are she, they, but I'm still perceived by a lot of people as a cis-het woman, cis-het being an abbreviation for cisgendered, heterosexual. And being perceived that way, you get told what you can't do by society a lot more than what you can do. I'm fortunate enough to have been raised by a family who said, you can do whatever you put your mind to, and sexists are just a bunch of bastards you shouldn't pay attention to. And this song illustrates a great point. Women are told every day, don't do this, or you can't do this, or you shouldn't do this. But if you were born a man, then you could. Absolutely. Nirvana pointing this out shows how feminist they were, and I'm not the only one who noticed this. If you Google the question, is Nirvana feminist? You get a lot of video essays and think pieces about Nirvana and third wave feminism, with Pearl Jam thrown in there too. Good for them, because women need more straight men as allies in this world. A song that makes great points.
This is from their Blue EP, and a second studio version can be found on Incesticide. I keep wanting to say insecticide. There were these parents, and they wanted a boy, and they got a girl instead, and she should have, well, see the title. And again, like About a Girl, simple lyrics, which is really hard to do. And it's catchy, and it's under 3 minutes. Heck, it's under 2.5 minutes. And that's got to be tough, where it's like, like, yeah, we want a boy, or we want a girl. And you get the opposite, and you're like, But you should be happy, as long as, long as they're healthy and all that sort of thing. Just shut up and be grateful.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
Next track, Silver. Is it called Silver because of the silvered hair grandparents? Sliver. Oh my god, I missed it.
You fell into Kurt's trap.
Oh, great. All right, sorry. Sliver. I looked at it too quickly. So again, to what extent is this song autobiographical?
Very.
Okay, baby Kurt goes to stay with Grandma and Grandpa Joe where he eats his mashed potatoes and can't chew his meat too good. They tell him to stop crying and go ride his bike, which he eventually does, only to kill his toe. Then he eats ice cream, watches TV, and wakes up in his mom's arms. And that's it. A day in the life of a kid, beginning, middle, and end. I only ever got homesick when staying with my grandparents once. And, yeah, one time with Nana and Grandpa, but that was it. And I always enjoyed it, except for the time when Jaju woke me up at 6 a.m. so we could go to church by shining a flashlight in my face.
No.
Yeah, he did. Knock on
Wow.
the door. He's coming in with a flashlight. Okay, time to go to church. I'm like, ugh. And I was a teenager too. The last thing a teenage girl does is want to go to church on a Saturday. Anyway.
With a flashlight in your face.
Yeah, it was the bright LED light too.
Oh.
So I was like, ugh. Anyway, Kurt was probably just your normal rambunctious kid, and I'm sure Chris and Dave were too. It takes you back to your childhood, for better or for worse.
Mm-hmm. Yep, this was a single, and it can also be found on Incesticide. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's lyrically pretty straightforward. Would you call him Baby Kurt?
Baby Kurt, yeah.
Oh, I called him Little Kurt. Anyway.
Same thing.
Pint-sized Kurt's parents leave him with his grandparents so they can go out for the day. And like you said, he doesn't want to be there. He has trouble eating. He hurts himself riding his bike. And then after dinner, he has ice cream, watches TV, falls asleep, and wakes up in his mother's arms. So he gets a happy ending. Mm-hmm. But in between all that, he's shouting, Grandma, take me home about 87 times.
Yeah. It reminds me of that sound that's going viral on TikTok where it's this little kid going, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. And the grandpa yells, that's too damn bad.
Now, Kurt gave the song an intentionally confusing title.
I fell for it.
Yeah, because he thought if he called it Sliver, people would call it Silver instead.
And I did.
And you did not let him down. And let me put my pretentious wannabe rock music critic hat on and say that the title could mean this song is but a tiny slice of Kurt's life as a kid.
Slice of life, yeah.
Yeah, we're allowed this tiny glimpse and that's all. And yes, it's catchy and it's really short.
Mm-hmm. Next track, Smells Like Teen Spirit. There's those iconic opening chords, but then I rewound it and realized instantly why Dad wanted me to listen to Louie Louie because those chords are so awfully gosh darn familiar. Now, I think this song is why Chemical Romance wrote Teenagers Scare the Living Shit Out of Me, because this song, Smells Like Teen Spirit, is edginess to a T. I'm surprised I didn't get nicked. This is definitely the dark part of being a teenager, and something tells me if S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders was written in the 90s, this song would have been referenced in the book. But I think what we fail to realize is when we're teens, we're still kids, which is kind of the moral of Heathers the Musical and also kind of the Heathers film. Can't we just be kids? Can't we just like what we like and enjoy it because we're going to be grown-ups overnight? But these teens don't have time for this shit. They want to be entertained. This is a song for the burnt-out freaks who maybe don't necessarily embrace the label, but accept it and are like, if this is what I am, then entertain me. As for the music, I listened to More Than a Feeling by Boston, and the second search result was More Than a Feeling Nirvana, which, With the Boston song, the chords are similar, and then there's the rhythm with the lyrics. And then I heard Louie Louie, which is the exact same chords. I'm not going to review these songs because when we eventually do Boston or the Kingsmen, I want to give them proper in-depth critiques then. But I think the moral of the story is that in rock and roll, there are only so many chords to go around, and everyone is going to plagiarize each other eventually. Just don't be a liar about it and acknowledge the similarity of the sound. Don't pull a Vanilla Ice. Because if you try to dodge it, that's when you get hit with the plagiarism charge the most. And in rock and roll, you only get hit with that label if the original band is in the mood to sue you. So, I won't be mad at Nirvana if the other bands weren't mad at them. Also, listen to the Weird Al parody. It's a lot funnier after listening to the original because, really, what is this song about? Buy our album, we're Nirvana!
This is from Nevermind. And like I said, the first time I heard it was on a bus on the way home from Blue Cross when I lived in Pawtucket at the time, which was my year of living dangerously. And it just made me sit up. I'm like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And like I said, I never heard anything like it. And I didn't hear it a lot at first, but then once it blew up, you just could not escape it, which wasn't a bad thing because it's a really great song. Mm-hmm. And Kurt said he had set out to write the ultimate pop song. He played a riff that Chris thought was ridiculous, so Kurt made the band play it for an hour and a half.
Nah.
They eventually slowed it down, and Dave Grohl came up with the beat, which he said he drew upon disco. Yep.
Oh, wow.
He was inspired by the Gap Band and drummer Tony Thompson from Chic. There's a YouTube video of Dave fessing up to this. He said he met Tony Thompson at a barbecue and went up to him and thanked him profusely because he ripped off so much of Thompson's drumming on Nevermind. And Thompson's reply was, I know. This is the one song where Kurt and Chris and Dave all got songwriting credit, and I'm sure Chris and Dave must be thankful for that. Mm. The title came from Kathleen Hanna, who had written Kurt Smells Like Teen Spirit on one of Kurt's walls. Allegedly, he didn't know that Teen Spirit was a deodorant. He thought it was a revolutionary slogan. And yes, sales of Teen Spirit increased due to the song.
Wow.
And the strong structure was what the band would be known for. Soft verses, loud choruses.
Mm-hmm.
And as for the lyrics, they could mean everything.
Everything and anything.
They could mean nothing.
Yeah.
It's a Gen X teen anthem. It's filling up space with words that rhyme. Much ink has been spilled over these lyrics. Me, I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither.
I just don't.
We're not going to try to admit it.
And as for that riff that you mentioned earlier, I hate to admit it, but it took me years to figure out that I had heard it.
Wow, I recognized it instantly. But to be fair, you sent me those songs
from
as clues.
like from Boston's More Than a Feeling. Like, oh, wow, yeah.
Has Boston ever said anything about that?
Well, in the remastered edition I have of their first album, it does make mention of that.
Okay.
And it also even goes further back and said, well, yeah, both these songs come from the Kingsmen's Louie Louie, which it does. So, yep, if you're curious, go call up those two songs on whatever it is you listen to and be amazed.
Yep.
And this song clocks in a little over 5 minutes, but it's never felt that long. It's just a great, great song. And Weird Al Smells Like Nirvana is pretty good too. And the video is hilarious.
Yep. And he got a lot of the original extras from the original Smells Like Teen Spirit music
I think
video.
even the janitor too.
Yep. He got the janitor as well. We covered that in our Weird Al episode, which you can listen to on YouTube right after this if you want. Or don't. I'm not your mommy. Anyway, next track. Come As You Are. Hear me out, okay?
Okay.
I want this song to be used in a niche genre of romance that's slowly becoming a popular favorite. Enemies and lovers. Yep, you heard me. Not enemies to lovers. Enemies and lovers.
I hate you, let's have sex.
Yes. And it never changes.
Okay.
All right, because I could see this song playing in the background of a scene where two people are facing off and you can't tell whether they're about to have sex or kill each other.
Okay.
I think a lot of that has to do with the tension of the music, but also with the tone of Kurt's voice, sounding like someone who loves to play with their food before they eat it. This song is pretty primal if you look at it from that angle, especially when he says he wants to see them doused in mud. Oh, and he may or may not have a gun on hand, to which I say, children, guns and sex do not mix. Please no. Thank you.
Unless it's a love gun.
Oh, yeah. Great song with all different types of tension.
This also is from Nevermind. Oh, trouble is with this song.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, DGC wanted to release this as the second single, and Kurt was worried about that because it sounded like 80s band Killing Joke's song 80s, which it does. I went on and found it and listened to it. And eventually the band's management persuaded Kurt, it's okay, you can release this. And guess what? Killing Joke, they were upset.
Oh, no.
But a lawsuit was never filed, though, probably because both songs sound like the Damned's Life Goes On, which they do.
Oh, okay.
As for the lyrics, Kurt said, the lines in the song are really contradictory. One after another, they are a kind of rebuttal to each line. It's kind of confusing, I guess. It's just about people and what they're expected to act like. And as for the line, and I swear I don't have a gun, well, that was an eyebrow raiser a few years later.
Yeah. Next track, Lithium. How did people not realize Kurt was not okay? I realize I'm saying this in retrospect, looking back, but reading this, the lyrics seem pretty obvious, especially with the title. Lithium is used as a psychiatric medication, mostly for people who are bipolar and experience depression. And listen, everyone's individual opinions on medication vary. For some people, they are a godsend. For some people, they have horrible side effects that make their depression worse. Everybody's brain chemistry is different, so do your own research or consult the doctor. Now, I kind of hear Kurt singing about this like the moment right before a manic episode. In the music, we can hear this tension building and almost ticking like a bomb about to go off. There's even Kurt masking, pretending everything is all right and saying, I'm not going to crack, but you can tell he's about to snap. I wouldn't recommend anyone listen to this song whilst in the midst of a depressive episode because this might set you off, although I know some people who can jam to some pretty dark shit with a smile on their face. But to everyone listening to Nirvana for the first time, I think it's safe to say proceed with caution. Poignant, but if the song came out now, there'd be a trigger warning.
This is also from Nevermind. More soft, loud, soft, loud. Kurt says, and I know I keep doing Kurt says, but I figured, well, he's the one who knows what these songs are about. So, a guy's lost his girl and his friends, and he's brooding. He's decided to find God before he kills himself. It's hard for me to understand the need for a vice like religion, but I can appreciate it too. People need vices. But why Lithium for the title? According to the Mayo Clinic website, this is what I found. Lithium helps you have control over your emotions and helps you cope better with the problems of living. Plus, there's the old Karl Marx quotation about religion being the opiate of the masses.
Yep.
Which, like Calvin and Hobbes point out, Karl Marx never lived to see TV.
Yeah, exactly. And Karl Marx never lived to see the internet.
Oh my God. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, right? Next track. In Bloom. I think I'm picking up a Bob Dylan influence here. Trying to have a point come across by using lyrics you need to re-listen to in order to understand. Either that or be high on drugs. Even Kurt says no one knows what it means. And if nature is a whore, then she's a temperamental one at that, considering global warming. In my opinion, this song sounds like something out of a cult with a bunch of drugged-up followers. If that wasn't the intention here, then guys, I'm sorry, but the guitar sounding like it's in a haze doesn't help either. And this song made me realize the adjective haze is perfect for describing Nirvana's music.
This is also from Nevermind. And I remember reading somewhere once that the lines, he's the one who likes all our pretty songs and likes to sing along, he likes to shoot his gun, but he don't know what it means, were directed at Dave Grohl because he did provide backing vocals and he did admit he wasn't sure what the songs were about.
Okay.
There's also a theory it's about the people who jumped on the bandwagon once the band got big. And again, you got your soft loud going on here. Now, here's a fun fact. In 2019, Kurt got a songwriting credit on Lil Nas X's Panini because that song had a chorus melody similar to In Bloom. And people were pointing out to Lil Nas, hey, you're using Nirvana. He's like, what? And he listened to In Bloom and he realized,
oh, shit.
Yeah. And so he decided, you know what? I'm going to give him credit.
Oh, good.
It's brief, though, but it's there. So check out the song on YouTube.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. Great video.
Yeah. Oh, he does excellent videos for all of his music videos.
Now, did you check out the video for In Bloom?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's hilarious. Kurt said they made it to show that they did have a sense of humor, and it is worth it just to hear MC Doug Llewellyn, who was the announcer on the People's Court back in the 80s. It's worth it just to hear him pronounce the band's name, which I'm not going to say because you need to see the video.
I'll watch it right after this.
It's kind of a takeoff on every British invasion band appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Really? Both Nirvana? Oh, that sounds hilarious.
It is hysterical.
Okay, next track. Heart-shaped box. Hey, Dad? This song isn't about a certain someone, is it?
She seems to think so.
'Cause if so, oh boy. You know who else this song could apply to? Fitzgerald and Zelda.
Okay.
Because it looks like love, sounds like love, but it isn't love. It's a trap. The recipe for a toxic relationship. And Kurt wants to get out, but can't. As someone who is in a toxic relationship, one reason is because you remember the person they were before and you think you can get them back to that point. Spoiler alert, you can't. Maybe Kurt thinks if he can get out of the box. Nope, he can't. This type of love is sloppy, and it sounds like the aftermath of bad hate-fueled make-up sex with sloppy seconds afterward. And when I listened to the song, I realized, I think I know how Mom feels listening to Fleetwood Mac. I feel so dirty and rotten. Poor Frances Bean, I hope she's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is from In Utero, and lyrically there's a bit going on here. Kurt said he wrote it about children with cancer.
Oh.
He'd see documentaries about little kids with cancer and freak out, hence the line, I wish I could eat your cancer when you turn black.
Oh.
He also said the chorus, hey, wait, I've got a new complaint, was how he was perceived by the media.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, what's he going to complain about now? Anyway, Courtney Love swears this song is about her vagina.
Oh, wow, I didn't think it was about that specifically, but wow, okay.
Because of the line, throw down your umbilical noose so I can climb right back. But I'm thinking, wouldn't that be Kurt's mom instead?
Yeah, that reminds me of the Robin Williams bit he did inside the Actors Studio where he explained why not the C word, but the P word for vagina was his favorite curse word. And he says, as a friend of mine once said, we all come from there and want to get back as often as possible.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just had it with the world and just wants to go back into the womb. And guess what? Soft, loud, soft. And say what you want, but these guys were masters at that.
Oh yeah, they're very good at it. Next track, Penny Royalty. My favorite lyric is, give me a Leonard Cohen afterworld so I could sigh eternally. My God, that's poetic. And also hints that maybe the afterworld won't be a happy one. This song just sounds like someone so checked out with reality and going through the motions. Even if they had all the money in the world and had nothing to do all day but drink tea, they'd still be bored. Now, if you Google the title, you find out that penny royalty does exist. It's a low-growing herb in the mint family. You can apparently use it for pneumonia and the common cold, but WebMD says there's no evidence to back it up. And it can also be used as an abortive herb or to bring on a late period, which is pretty dark, but it makes sense that Nirvana is singing about it. Someone who's bored with life, but I'm not bored with the music yet.
This is from In Utero as well. And this was going to be Nirvana's third single from that album. It was going to be released April of 1994, but was recalled after Kurt's death. It did get released as a 7-inch single on Record Store Day in April of 2014. And not to repeat you, but I'm going to repeat you. What is pennyroyal tea? It's tea made from boiling the leaves of the pennyroyal plant, which, as you said, is used as an herbal abortive. Kurt said he threw that in the song, which was about someone who's on their deathbed, because he had friends who tried using it, but it never worked.
Oof.
He kind of, in his journals, he wrote, it's just a hippie thing. Doesn't work. And that was another thing. Like, also around the time that this album came out, his journals were released.
Oh, jeez.
And a lot of people just really upset because that's like private stuff, and I'm sure he didn't want the public reading it.
Did Courtney want the public?
I have no idea what all the legalities were behind it or how it got released.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's.
But that's what the interwebs was created for.
Yeah, but that's screwed up. Okay, so next track. Unfortunately, I can't say the title of this next song.
Can we spell it out?
Yeah.
Can I say the title, or will I just get his banned?
Well, if we say the title, YouTube will take it down off the internet. But if you Google track 11 on this album, you can read the title yourself. We can spell it out. RAPE space ME. Okay? Cool. So this song is told from the point of view of the victim, saying, I'll survive this and something awful is going to happen to you one day because of this. Listen, this is not an easy song to listen to, and if you can't, I don't blame you at all. And when they say it over and over, you can't help feeling a bit sickened. Tori Amos said it's really hard to get past the title, but after a few seconds, you realize it's a song of defiance. This was also the song that prompted George Bush to break his daughter Jenna's Nirvana CD, which, considering all the war crimes his administration committed, it could have been a lot worse. And yet, this was the song where I noticed how good a drummer Dave Grohl is, with those bass drums getting a bit of a solo and him being able to make that sound. It's not a pleasant listen with an important message, but if you skip it, I don't blame you at all.
This is also from In Utero. And troublers with this song, too.
Oh, I bet.
Biggest troublers was for the title. Walmart and Kmart were not going to carry In Utero because of the title and because of the fetus collage on the back cover.
Oh, really?
Yep, Kurt made changes on the cover. The collage was edited, and the song was retitled Waif Me, but only on the cover. It was still the same song in the booklet, and the song itself was not changed on the album.
Yeah.
Kurt said he agreed to the changes because in some parts of the country, Walmart or Kmart were the only places in some towns where kids could buy music.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And this was Kurt's anti-rape song, and he had to frequently explain its meaning.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was about him and Courtney. I'm not the only one. Getting used and abused by the media. You could look
people
at
have
it
also said that
on
there
that level too.
Yep.
And the intro sort of sounds like Smells Like Teen Spirit. And it's not an easy listen, especially the end where Kurt just screams the phrase over and over and over. And it's like,
It's a barrage.
it's not going to end.
Yeah.
It's just not going to end. And then it ends. And you're like,
Next track. Dumb. Have you ever had a moment where you realize you're not like everyone else? Kurt has the moment where he thinks he's dumb. And if he is, he doesn't sound mad about it either. Because he may be dumb, but he's also happy. So he's going to get drunk with his girl, have sex, and go to sleep. Still, for someone who's happy, he's pretty subdued. You could also look at this as him repeating the words, I'm happy over and over until he believes it, but it's not working. And by the time the song ends, you feel kind of bad for him. Just goes to show no matter what level of success you're at, you still doubt yourself.
Mm-hmm. This is from In Utero, and it was never released as a single, but I heard it on the radio a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mostly BRU. Kurt wrote it about all the dumb people he met. But for some reason, they were happy, which I guess is the old ignorance is bliss. Yeah. Kara Shaley's ominous cello says otherwise, though. I mean, you listen to that thing, and it's a counterpoint to the whole lyric. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the few songs that's calm from beginning to end.
It's true. Didn't notice that. Next track, All Apologies, MTV Unplugged version. Have you ever had the kind of fight with someone where you say, who do you want me to be? What else do you want me to say? You want me to be like you? And as far as this album goes, I think this is not the happiest I've maybe heard Kurt, but maybe the most at peace. Like, this is who I am, and you can shit on me all you want, but I'm not changing, and I'm going to go soak up some sun. And people theorize that this song was a potential goodbye. So the sad thing is, maybe he's at peace because he made up his mind about what he was going to do. If their love was all they were, then he didn't want it despite the gorgeous harmonies and melodies at the end. And when you look at the song through that lens, the ending is even more of a bummer.
Yeah, this is unplugged, so it's a lot quieter than the original studio version. Kurt said he liked to think this song was for Courtney and Francis, but the words don't really fit in relation to us. No. The feeling does, but not the lyrics, which is good because there is that married, buried line, and I always thought it meant that being married was like being buried alive, or
Oof.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
dark.
like, yeah, you're married? Yeah, it's over for you, pal. You're just dead.
Care to comment?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, Kurt also said he wished that the lighter sound of Dumb and All Apologies had been more prominent on previous albums. And I think the band might have moved into that direction a little more had he lived.
Maybe. Yeah.
And I also have a theory, I mean, I'm totally wrong, I'm just guessing here, that he might have gone solo, just him and the guitar. I don't know. I mean, it's just all guessing.
It's speculation, yeah.
Yeah.
Final track, The Man Who Sold the World. I can't believe I have to say this, but no, Nirvana did not write this, Google. David Bowie did. Educate yourselves, people. I'm not going to critique the song itself because that would be better saved for another Bowie episode, so I'm just going to critique Nirvana's performance. Kurt sounds great singing this song, and you could tell he and the band really respect Bowie and wanted to do a good job. So they keep it simple with the electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and drums. It's the most romantic song on the album, not as in the romance genre, but in the definition of romantic like in English literature. And it's kind of the most artsy-fartsy we've heard Nirvana be, and it shows that if they really liked another artist's music and appreciated it, they'd respect them with a good and decent cover. Great performance, especially for MTV Unplugged.
Mm-hmm. Now, since it's a Bowie cover, the lyrics could mean anything.
Yes.
He said it was a sequel to Space Oddity. Or, later, he said it could be about having a split personality. His version came out in 1970, and I found it on YouTube and, listened to it. And I gotta say, I like Nirvana's version a little better. There's something about Kurt's voice has more of a connection. But it could also be that thing of, Otis Redding wrote Respect, but everyone thinks it's Aretha Franklin's song. You just, a certain person's going to come along and they're going to own your song, whether you like it or not.
Did Bowie ever say what he thought of Nirvana's?
He said he wished he could have met Kurt to find out why he covered this particular song. And Bowie also said when he performed the song in concert, kids would come up to him and say it was really cool that he was covering a Nirvana song. And he would look at them and think, fuck you, you tosser.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so he went through that too, where it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I really don't own this song anymore. But
that must have made him feel old too.
But, the royalty checks come in, and I'm sure that helped.
Oh, yeah. Overall, Nirvana is my favorite 90s rock band of the ones we've listened to on this show. 90s rock is definitely not my thing, but this was the most enjoyable and listenable. I wasn't bored once. I can see why they became as big as they did, but there's also the other side of the coin where I'm sad Kurt isn't here because he sounds pretty gentle and loving even with the subject matter he's singing about. You definitely can't listen to the band the same way, but honor them by listening to their music. And this album is a great stepping stone.
You must sound like that guy from those old beer ads. I don't listen to 90s alternative rock. But
when I do,
it's Nirvana.
Yep.
This is a great collection. And if you've never heard Nirvana before, which I'd kind of be surprised if you didn't. But anyway, if you didn't, it's the perfect place to start. Highly recommended. Plus, it may make you want to check out the full albums, which is what I'm going to go back and do. I've got some I got to go pick up at the library, and I figure I'll give them another shot, do some deep digging, give them another chance.
You think you're going to make it?
I'll find out.
All
I can't go tomorrow because library's closed, but Tuesday.
Are you going to be at Weaver Library?
Nah, Seekonk.
Okay, because I have stuff at Weaver Library I got to pick up. Anyway, as always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe and all that jazz, because the more you interact with this video, the more visible it becomes on YouTube for other people to see. If you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you are friends with my dad, email him as to what episode you want to see, and he can send it right to your inbox. And as always, if you like what we do, feel free to leave a contribution on my Ko-Fi. As always, we are My Dad Listens to This. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next time with another album to nitpick and gripe about. And for our Halloween special, there will definitely be some nitpicking and griping, but I don't want to give it away. You're just going to have to tune in time for spooky season. Dad, anything you want to say to our loyal listeners before we sign off?
Well, I think Weird Al gets in the last words. Well, we don't sound like Madonna. Here we are now. We're Nirvana.